Today I'm going to answer the question, who would be the kings of Germany today if Germany were to restore its monarchies? In earlier videos, I looked at who would be the king of France today and who would be the Tsar of Russia today. And since then, I've received numerous requests to do a similar video about Germany. So that's what this video is going to be about. But before I begin, I would like to point out that my purpose in making videos like this is not to support any particular monarchist movements. I make these what-if videos simply because it's an interesting way to learn a bit of history. And since in this video I'll be mentioning a few individuals who fought alongside the Nazis in World War II, I would like to make it absolutely clear that I do not support Nazism in any way, shape, or form. Most of the members of the German nobility did not fight in World War II, but a few did, so I thought I'd make my position clear. So with that out of the way, the next thing I need to point out is the fact that I've used the word kings, plural, instead of just king of Germany. That's because before Germany became a republic, it actually had 4 kings, not just one. To explain, let's quickly look at a map of the German Empire prior to World War I. The German Empire was made up of a bunch of different German states, 4 of which were kingdoms. The largest by far was the Kingdom of Prussia, which had existed since the year 1701. But there are also 3 smaller kingdoms, the Kingdom of Bavaria, the Kingdom of Saxony, and the Kingdom of Württemberg. These 3 were formed around 1806, which is when the Holy Roman Empire was dissolved. It was also during the time when Napoleon was ruling most of Europe. In 1871, these 4 kingdoms joined together, along with a bunch of other smaller states, like Grand Duchies, Duchies, Principalities, and Free Cities, all of which are shown here in the yellow. They all joined together to form the German Empire, and that empire existed from 1871 to 1918. The King of Prussia, because he ruled the largest territory, also held the title of German Emperor, or Kaiser, Kaiser being related to the word Caesar. So we're going to look at all 4 of the monarchies. The Prussian monarchy, which belonged to the House of Hohenzollern, the Bavarian monarchy, which belonged to the House of Wittelsbach, the Saxon monarchy, which belonged to the House of Wettin, and the monarchy of Württemberg. All 4 of these monarchies were dissolved at the end of World War I in 1918, but their lines continue to this day. So let's start with Prussia. The last king of Prussia and the last German Kaiser was Wilhelm II. After his defeat in World War I, he lived in the Netherlands until 1941, where he died at age 82. The Kaiser's firstborn son, also named Wilhelm, became head of the house next. Several of Wilhelm's brothers and sons fought alongside the Nazis in World War II. In fact, his firstborn son died while fighting in France in 1940, although he had actually given up his succession rights earlier in order to marry a woman of unequal rank. So when the former crown prince died in 1951, the leadership of the house passed to his second son, Prince Louis Ferdinand. Unlike other members of his family, Louis Ferdinand was opposed to the Nazis and had spent much of his youth in America. In fact, he was imprisoned at Dachau near the end of the war because Hitler did not trust him. He lived until 1994 and had 4 sons. However, the first 2 sons married outside the nobility, so the line passed through his 3rd son. But that son died before him in 1977, and therefore, when Prince Louis Ferdinand died, the title of head of house went directly to his grandson, Prince George Friedrich. So if there were to be a German Kaiser today, or a King of Prussia, it would be this individual here who would be the best candidate for that job. Next up, Bavaria. The last king of Bavaria was Ludwig III. He married Maria Theresa of Austria-Este, who was heir to the throne of Great Britain, according to the alternative Jacobite succession. And therefore the next three individuals in this line were both heirs to the throne of Bavaria as well as Jacobite pretenders. If you want more information about the Jacobite succession, I've got a separate video on that, which I'll link to in the description. Ludwig III died shortly after World War I in 1921. The former crown prince and his family opposed Hitler during World War II and had to escape to other countries. Some of them were captured and kept in Dachau with Prince Louis Ferdinand. The current head of the house is Franz, who holds the title Duke of Bavaria. He never married and has had no children, so therefore when he dies, the title will pass to his younger brother, Prince Max. Max has 5 daughters, but no sons. So once these two individuals pass on, what will happen next is this. The Jacobite succession will pass to Max's eldest daughter, Sophie, who is currently the hereditary princess of Liechtenstein. This is because the Jacobites follow British succession rules, which allow for female monarchs. However, German noble houses do not tend to allow female heirs, so the title of Duke of Bavaria will go to the next most senior male line descendant of Ludwig III. That individual would be Prince Luitpold, and he has 3 sons, so the line will continue through his family in the future. Now let's look at Saxony. The last king of Saxony was Frederick Augustus III. He died in 1932, but because his eldest son, the former crown prince, had become a Catholic priest, his titles passed to his second son, Frederick Christian, and then to his firstborn son, Maria Emmanuel. Don't be confused by this name. This is a male, not a female. He was opposed to Hitler during World War II and in fact was captured and sentenced to death for this at age 18. However, he escaped and went on to live until 2012. After that, the succession gets a bit tricky. Maria didn't have any legitimate children, so he adopted his sister's son so that the line could continue through him. That would be Prince Alexander. But when he died, his younger brother Albert inherited his titles for a few months before he himself passed away. And Albert preferred a different successor. He chose Prince Rudiger, who is a direct male line descendant of the last king of Saxony. So there is currently a dispute within the family over who is the actual head of the house, with these two individuals being the 2 main candidates. Finally, we have Württemberg. The last king of Württemberg died in 1921, with no surviving sons, and therefore his titles passed to a distant cousin named Albert. Albert died in 1939, just as World War II was starting. The line continued through his son and then on to his grandson Karl, who is the current Duke of Württemberg and head of the house. His son Frederick was to inherit his titles, but Frederick actually died just a few months ago in a car accident. That makes his eldest son, also named Frederick, the heir. So that covers the former kings of Germany and their current heirs. Support for a return to a monarchy is low in Germany, and therefore it is extremely unlikely that any of these individuals will ever become a monarch. If you'd like to download an electronic version of this chart, I will post a link in the description. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more historical family tree charts.